Hello, hello. We're so excited to do another My Blueprint story today. Today we're with Kathleen Morris, and I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been in business.
Okay. Kathleen Morris from Atlanta, Georgia. I am an event planner, and I have been on this event planning entrepreneurial path now for 6 years.
How long, when did we meet? What year was it that we met?
We met in 2015
Okay, at a Blueprint retreat.
at a Blueprint retreat.
Had we met before in Atlanta? I feel like we had.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so tell us tell everybody when you came to Blueprint retreat in 2015. You had been in business 2 to 3 years?
2.5-ish, yeah.
How were you kind of feeling at the time? What made you want to come to Blueprint Retreat?
Okay. I had 2 little babies. They were 1 and 2 at that time. And I knew I was ready to get back to work. And I had been doing some contract work, corporate event work, and a couple of weddings. And I knew that I wanted to work. I wanted to be a working mom. I didn't feel equipped to... I didn't feel like I had all the tools to start a business yet. And I had a long career in corporate world and kind of knew that path in that area, but I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur and truly what that meant. And so I went to Blueprint to try and learn some of those things.
Yeah. What were you feeling kind of the least confident in?
Oh gosh, the least confident, probably just in general, big picture, an entrepreneurial path, working for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I understood money and taxes and things like that coming from a corporate world. I understood how to do the job because I had been an event planner for 12 years prior to that. Like I knew how to do the job. I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And what that really meant from what your day is like day to day and what services do you need to do for yourself, which you can't outsource anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I loved how you were talking about before, like you really started your own business because, did you expect to go back to corporate world before having your babies? Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember before I went on maternity leave, people asking me like, are you going to come back? Because at that time I worked for a company that was based in Baltimore, New York, and I used to travel all the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming back. Like, duh. And then I was holding my son Brady. He was 9 weeks old. And I was like, I am never getting on another airplane again.
Yeah.
And that was
because you were traveling like 4 days a week.
4 days a week.
Yeah.
And so I called my boss and I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back.
Yeah. So you really had to figure out, it's funny because a lot of people listening, like they want to be entrepreneurs, they want to own their own business. But for a lot of people, like they have your story where it's a means to an end. And for you wanted that time to be with your kids.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like one of the biggest things that I still think about from Blueprint Retreat was what are my core motivators? Mm-hmm. And every year I go back to that about once a year and just like look at it again, like what are my core motivators? And they haven't changed every year. And some I feel like might have a little different priority shifts, but ever since then and since becoming a mom, it's been freedom and time. Like I wanted time with my kids.
Yeah. Okay. So 2.5 years in though, were you feeling like that time was kind of getting taken away? Because you talk a lot about understanding your pricing, you were comparing yourself to other businesses at that stage. So talk to everybody about figuring out how to have the time, how to get paid, and to really own your worth.
Yeah. At that time, I saw like in 2015, I saw like a clear path, like, oh yes, this could be a legit business. Mm-hmm. And I was getting business and I was getting more business fairly easily. And I realized, but then I realized it was taking a lot of time away. And even then 2016, 2017 was a rough year. Yeah. So much time was taken away. I was giving too much of myself. And I was really looking at my pricing and realized this isn't worth my time.
Yeah.
And that was 2017 was a big like watershed year for me, because I was like, you can't keep doing this to yourself. And I started to hate my business
Yeah.
because I realized my time has a price,
Yeah.
and I wasn't charging what I should be. And I was looking around too much at what others were charging in market and thinking, oh, well, I'm a new entrepreneur. I'm newer to weddings. I guess I'll charge what they're charging. And discounting that I had 13 years of event planning experience prior to that. And I realized that's when I was like, this is not sustainable. And I was not fulfilled and not happy.
Yeah.
And I was giving so much of my time, and not getting charged, or not charging what I was worth and what my time was worth.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you start like making that mental shift? I mean, was there just a moment where it was like, no, I have 13 years of experience and here's my new pricing? Or was it something that incrementally happened? I feel like it was more psychological than anything.
It was definitely more psychological, and I had to muster up the strength to, and that's one of the biggest things that was always hard for me and still hard as an entrepreneur, is I have to sell myself. In corporate world, I never had to sell myself. You know, like I was on a team and we had this marketing department and we like were on this path every year. And so in the entrepreneurial world, I have to sell myself, and I realized I wasn't selling myself appropriately. And I wasn't talking about my extensive background in events. And so there was a lot of, hey, you're really good at this. You have a long history. Like, you know, pick yourself up and like, you could do this and you have the confidence to charge that. And you just have to tell people why you're worth that too.
Yeah. So, okay, for anybody listening that, because I deal with this too, confidence. I mean, it's surprising, I think, how many people deal with that like confidence problem. So did you start did you start saying things to yourself? Did you change language in your sales process? Like what did you do to get there?
I went back to taking on a little bit of a corporate persona, to be honest. I went back to not feeling like, oh, I'm just this mom and I have this side business and it's, you know, it's pretty much part-time so I can be with my kids and this and that. I was like, no, you need to go back to being like, thinking you're a corporate badass.
Yeah.
And everything like, and so I spoke and I went back to speaking the way I used to speak. You know, in corporate world, there's a lot of, some people might call it corporate jargon and this and that, but like I went back to talking like that, and that was comfortable for me. And it's like, as soon as I went back and kind of changed, it's like, Kath, like just kind of treat this almost like you were talking to your boss in a corporate office. Speak the same way. And it's like I got back to, I hit my groove again and like got my confidence back. But I had to like work on it and say to myself, like, you are still that person that's, you know, you're the same type of event planner you were 6 years, 10 years ago. You're the same. You have the same skills. Like, just own it.
Yeah.
Which just because you're doing it as an entrepreneur. Versus in a corporate setting, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because I think that lack of confidence is very common, but not talked about. And I think like even not taking our own selves seriously is even more, because you see that you're doing this part-time because you want to be with your kids, or I saw, you know, I'm working from my bedroom with my dog in sweatpants, you know. Was there any other things, like, did you start dressing differently, or did you like get up and do your hair and makeup? That's something I started, like, I'm getting up and I'm going to get ready just to help my own mental state.
Yeah. I did that. I was like, and I set up my office almost exactly how I used to in my corporate desk.
Yeah.
And so I set that up, like I treated it a little bit. I tried to not do the like, okay, just at nap time when my kids are napping or my kids are at preschool. Like I ended up getting a nanny and saying like, I'm going to go for this. And I started out, you know, now my kids are a little bit older, they're in school, but I started out with a nanny 2 days a week. Then I went to 3 days a week. So I had like 3 full days.
Yeah.
And I treated it like I was back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was better. Like it was better for my kids too, because before I was like trying to fit things in and I was so distracted. Whereas I was like, okay, I'm going to set up an office and I'm going to go to it and I'm going to get dressed. And like, I have a nanny now that's going to take care of my kids so that I can focus on this.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I was like, mom time.
Yeah. I love that. It lets you be present where you are. Yeah. Did you start seeing a big difference in your price point and what you were booking like pretty quickly?
Well, so I'd say like my price point like slowly ratcheted up. I didn't all of a sudden go like 0 to 60.
Yeah.
I ratcheted up each time, you know, basically every client.
Yeah.
You know, and my client averages, everything kind of increased. But every time I had a new client, a new proposal got out, I had more confidence to charge even more and even more.
Yeah.
And no one ever once came back and said, you're too high. Actually, one time I had one father of the bride ask me, why are you worth this? Why? And we got another proposal that's like thousands of dollars cheaper. And I just walked him through it.
Yeah.
And we met in a hotel lobby and I wore my power suit and I owned it. And he was like, okay.
There's something really good about your power suit. Just getting it done.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I love to be in sweats and, you know, run out during the day to exercise or do this and that, but I still will put on a pair of heels and feel pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Or my suit jackets.
I'm just so glad you shared this story because I have dealt a lot with my own confidence, and I think every time I share that, people are like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have to speak truth, speak truth," and getting up or getting, not everybody can afford a nanny. Not everybody can get an office outside their house, but like, you still treat it like you're a job. Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that. Okay, so we end all of these interviews with one question, and I want to hear from you. What is the best thing that you have learned about money?
Okay, the best thing about money is that I really realized ever since Blueprint Retreat in 2015 that I was like, my time is money. Like my time has a price, like a real price now. If I'm going to be away from my kids, like it needs to have value. And so and I realized it's not, there was a time when I first started out, I'd charge things and be like, oh, here's my charge. And then I was like, no, this is what I'm worth based on my expertise. And this is what it's going to take for me to take on this work and do a good job for you, client, but also feel like it is valuable of my time away from my children.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I think this is going to help so many people get some steps to get into that confident mindset and just own their worth. You're the best.
Thanks.